All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to have one of fan favorite fighters from BrandRisk Boxing. He's an 11-time world record powerlifter. I want to welcome Jeremy Smith. Jeremy, how's it going today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. I actually, you're one of the first people from the BrandRisk side of things to be
Okay.
able to do an interview. So I'm actually like really excited about this. And, you know, to get more into that excitement aspect for, BrandRisk and obviously your win. You've had two wins in a row being in the first round, right? And you're just coming
hmm
off a win of BrandRisk 6. Um, is that something you were expecting to finish these fights really early, or like what's? Tell me your aspect or your expectations, of these fights heading into this promotion.
So heading into this promotion, I know that Aiden and his whole group of people that put on the Brand Risk show,
Mhm.
I know that they're top notch. I can't thank them enough. Like their
Yeah.
quality of content, and not only that, but I've seen behind the scenes the time and effort they put in to bring in fighters. Going in knowing that,
Mhm.
I had the perception of you know these fighters that they brought in are going to be at some level going to give me a challenge.
Mm.
Um, because at the end of the day, a fight's a fight. One punch could decide it.
Yeah.
The first fight when I fought Braden, the other
Mhm.
dwarf in boxing, um, that honestly, the two fights I fought for Brand Risk was the one I was more concerned about. Um, Granted, because dwarfs are very deceptive. Like we don't know what we're actually capable of, and for him, just getting into the ring for the first time, I didn't know if he knew how much power he had behind his punches. Um,
Mhm.
but obviously that kind of ended quickly. And then when I fought Pow Envy, uh, as soon as he took off his shirt and I saw him and they told me
Yeah.
about how much he weighed and all that, I'm like, hey, fight's a fight again, but I
Yeah.
knew I had that one in the
You're,
bag.
a bit more confident on the second one. I
Yeah.
kind of want to talk about the Pow Envy fight, right?
Okay,
It
cool.
it seemed like people around that fight with you and Pow Envy, especially to him, they were saying that like, oh, like if you lose against him, oh, they're gonna give him a lot of shit. And it's like I feel like people were giving him more shit if he lost versus like, oh, it's actually impressive if you would have won that fight. Would you agree with
Right.
that assessment?
I think you're hit it spot on.
Hmm.
I think for me, I don't know how, because I can't change the way I look, right? But
Yeah.
I can only give you a product the best way I know how, and that's to
Hmm.
beat the shit out of somebody.
Hmm.
So I give Pow Envy credit. He stepped in the ring and or the octagon.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, if people who are saying those things to Pow, it's like, man, like get in the ring with me. I need opponents. So like if you
Mhm.
think it was that easy, like come on in. Like that's cool. But I don't know. I just give him props. He obviously didn't have much fighting experience.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't think he should be looked down upon for losing to me. Like shit, like I love fighting. Like I'll fight an average sized person any day of the week, but still it's a fight's a
Hmm.
fight. It's just I don't know. I don't know how I really feel about that. It's a good question. I've noticed that recently.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but I just really haven't really thought about it.
No, that's totally fair. And you've kind of whenever fighting gets brought up, especially amongst you, seems
Mhm.
like there's excitement. Could you tell me your like kind of fight experience, your journey through fighting, and yeah, like how has that like kind of just helped you, throughout your whole like fighting career?
Sure.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I played flag football. Um,
Hmm.
and once I realized all my friends were going to go do tackle football, my parents were very afraid. So like, look, we
Yeah.
need to do something else because that's not going to be your sport. So I
Hmm.
started wrestling from kindergarten, and I wrestled all the way through 12th grade, so a senior in high school.
Hmm.
Um, I loved it. I enjoyed it. But once I graduated high school, the jump from high school collegiate wrestling to Division 1, Division 2, even Division 3 wrestling is is pretty large. You're talking about some of the best wrestlers within the country being able to go into a collegiate, NCAA setting. They're
Hmm.
they're some of the best of the best. And I think the athleticism wise for that, it was just very it's just a really big gap. And I don't think you know, a lot of dwarf athletes. being myself as included, could
Hmm.
make that jump. So I fell into powerlifting. Um, I loved lifting. I loved lifting heavy. I was able to accomplish 11 world records doing it, both raw and equipped, across multiple federations. I had the opportunity to move out here to Columbus,
Hmm.
to lift under a world renowned gym and coach, Louis Simmons, over at Westside Barbell, before his passing. Um, but after I broke those world records, I'm the type of person who is like, what's next? You know, I can't sit still for a long period of time. And once I broke those records, I realized lifting weights was not sustainable for my body. I realized my body was getting beat up, just because of the amount of weight I was doing. I always compared myself to like a pit bull. Like my drive is like, I'll just keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. And I'll ultimately, I know it for a fact, I would hurt myself if I didn't get out of powerlifting.
Hmm.
Um, but luckily, when I was kind of fading out, um, Rough and Rowdy. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a tough man, um, kind of event over in West Virginia. They approached
Yeah.
me, um,
Hmm.
and it gave me an opportunity to box against another dwarf. And they were like, "Would you do this?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'll do that. Like, why not?" You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's another outlet. It's another form of competition that I enjoy. I enjoy fighting. I physical. I don't enjoy physical confrontation, but I just
Yeah.
enjoy wowing people and showing them what I am capable of. Just like lifting weights and lift and wrestling, for however many years I wrestled in high school and stuff. So
Hmm. For
now I'm
sure.
here.
Yeah, that's sick. Well, one was a rough and rowdy fight because I believe they're the ones that are under Barstool, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think I want to say December
Hmm.
of 2021. So
Oh,
I've been
okay.
fighting for like 4 years now, like
Hmm. Yeah.
boxing, for 4 years.
Hmm.
My first fight was with this dude named Flying Ryan,
Hmm.
back in December, I think, of 2021.
Okay, got you, got you. And obviously, with the wrestling background, now being, in with boxing fights within the last 4 years, what feels more home between the two? Because I know BrandRisk offers, both sides of the combat sport.
So honestly, Jordan, I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan. I forget Jordan's last name. Apologize.
Yeah.
But when Jordan approached me, he was like, "Hey, Jeremy, this is what what we're thinking.
Hmm.
For this brand risk 006, you know, we're gonna go MMA." I was ecstatic. I was excited. I'm like, dude, now I
Hmm.
have the opportunity to not only showcase what I've learned from wrestling throughout my, high school wrestling career and, um, before, but I also can learn and incorporate the boxing side of things and the fighting side of things.
Hmm.
With that being said, the last fight being only 30 seconds, I kind of show. I hopefully I got to some people that I like. I do kind of work on some jujitsu. I did have a little bit of wrestling in there. I did have a
Hmm.
little bit of ground and pound. But looking back, I was kicking myself in the ass. I'm like, dude, I should just let him up and like made it, a little more
Yeah.
because I do want to get more into the MMA side of things rather than
Hmm.
boxing.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I gotta keep building up them stepping stones in order to get to that point. So I
For
understand.
sure. Yeah. You said you've done a little bit of jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I just started like doing jujitsu and like
Okay.
it's my first like combat sport per se, and like it's tough, man.
It's fun.
There's a lot of like fundamentals and stuff to kind of learn and kind of I don't want to say master, but obviously like try being more perfect until you go to like the next belts and everything like that. There's a lot of
Right.
fundamentals, yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously with MMA, right? Since there it's not even just we just talked about jujitsu, right?
Mhm.
Now there's obviously more than just jiu-jitsu with like, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, all this stuff, right? What is how do you kind of grasp of like making sure you uh, are familiar, remember all these fundamentals within each sport to, obviously contribute it to the ring? What's your like best ways of doing that?
So I think in all honesty, since
Yeah.
I would still consider, even though like 4 years of whatever I'm technically doing, I'm still a
Yeah.
novice. So I'm
Hmm.
still figuring that stuff out on what can interlink with one another. You
Hmm.
know, um, it's, it's, it's hard to, I don't know. I'm still at that point where it's like, okay, I can take bits of this and use it with this. I can take bits of that, use it with this. You know, the jujitsu side of things and the wrestling, they transfer over hand in hand, because you're learning submissions. You're allowed to lock while your opponent's still on the ground. Like you're allowed to lock
Mhm.
your hands. Um,
Yeah.
but it's also just the striking's also involved, and that adds another element. It's a chess game, and that's what I
Yeah.
am finding
Mhm.
enjoyment of, or
Mhm.
finding the re-enjoyment of it, because wrestling still was like a chess game, but you're thinking about two, three, four, five moves ahead before you do that move. So like you're
Mhm.
doing moves, you're bouncing back and forth, you're jabbing, you might be in and on a shot. All right, once you get that shot, am I gonna do a pull through? Am I gonna shoot it off to a double? What if he gets me in a choke? What if he doesn't get me a choke? What if I land this way? What if I land that way?
Mhm.
And it's just all the options that you have. It's just I'm still at the point where it's still overwhelming and still need to
Yeah.
iron that
Mhm.
stuff out.
Kind of going back towards things with like brand risk and everything like that, right? Um, I kind of want to ask. I've seen, there's a lot of celebrities, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people, who these events are very unique to the point where it's, invite only and everything like that. Has there been someone that you've kind of came across that, wow, you were really shocked to see them at this event, per se, while you were fighting?
I fucked
Yeah.
up this past event.
Yeah.
Um, Dana White was there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for me, what I'm trying to do, like with all this, how boxing, MMA, all of this, I want to give a platform for dwarfs, because like I said,
Hmm.
myself included, a lot of dwarfs wrestle
Yeah.
in high school. Based on their leverages, we have almost like a leverage advantage. But after high school, like that jump I talked about earlier is
Hmm.
just too drastic. But if there was able to be some type of league for dwarfs, I think it'd be awesome. And I was kicking myself in the ass when I saw Dana show up like 45 seconds after my fight was over, because I was talking to
Yeah.
him and
Hmm.
I'm like, "Hey man, how are you? It's really nice to see you." I apologize. I was like, I apologize for my
Hmm.
fight being so quick. He's like, "Hey, don't apologize, man. Like, shit, you kicked the shit out of him." But
Yeah.
seeing him at a promotion like that was very awe inspiring.
Hmm.
It gives a lot of people hope, I guess you could say, faith
Yeah.
in whatever they're doing. If they keep at it, they can go. Who knows where they go? So
Hmm.
Dana's probably one of them.
Yeah.
I saw Puka Nakua at
Oh
the
yeah.
last
Hmm.
at the last one. Saw
Hmm.
him. Um, and I'm not really good with faces to names unless like you
Yeah.
play football or stuff. But like
Yeah.
all these rappers that they had there,
Hmm.
like I probably heard a billion of their songs, but like I'm horrible
Hmm.
with faces and names. But just
That's
like
fun. Yeah.
they're cool people and boxers, like
Yeah.
so.
No, it's definitely a different level per se. Do you? I'm just curious because obviously, fan of UFC. You kind of just
Mhm.
talked about football a bit, just a little bit on like just a side question because I'm a very big like sports fan. Like,
Okay.
what's your teams and everything like that, and who's your favorite fighters of all time?
So I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, about an hour
Yeah.
south of Philly. So
Yeah.
I'm diehard Philly everything. So
Mm,
Phillies
okay.
fan. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm not really basketball or hockey per se.
Mm,
Those are
fair.
the two that I really watch.
Yeah.
Fighting wise, I'm a huge fan of Khabib.
Mm,
Um, I enjoy Bo Nickel. I've watched him since he was an NCAA champ.
hmm.
Um, I'm a huge fan of. I like Connor because Connor came up and he was doing things that nobody really ever saw besides Anderson Silva. Like he was able to incorporate a lot of his kickboxing and his striking techniques that were very unique to him.
Hmm.
Um, for heavyweights, being in Ohio right now, I'm a huge Stipe fan, but I do
Mm,
love
yeah.
John Jones. I would like to see that happen. Well, I think,
Well, no,
yeah,
that already happened. It's just
yeah,
it's
right.
the big one is Aspinall and Jones is
Yes,
like
that.
the yeah. Hmm.
But I don't know, man. Like
Yeah.
back in the day,
Yeah.
Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman, those guys, because of
Mm,
Ohio. But
yeah.
I just enjoy watching them. I enjoy watching people come up through the sport, especially like Sean O'Malley, Patty Pimblett, for example. Like when people count them out, It's like, dude, now they're practically right on the doorstep of winning a championship.
Dude, no, that Pimlet had like one of the best performances. I didn't expect him to really strike like that.
Yeah,
'Cause as much as like I knew Pimlet improved, but I was like, oh, Michael Chandler, like he's someone like one punch and he's like he can knock anyone out. So I was
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like maybe he gets caught with that, but no, he Pimlet had a really good performance, man.
And Michael Chandler is a hell of a wrestler, like hell of a
Mhm.
wrestler, and he really you didn't see much of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we to be fair, Michael Chandler's fights like recently, and this is the thing with Gaethje too. You don't see them like wrestle much. They,
No,
yeah, it's really interesting because it's like they've gone through the well colleges and everything like that to wrestle, and it's like yeah, you don't really see it. You don't really see them wrestle, which is interesting. But yeah,
you
just a,
know,
yeah. Oh,
uh,
sorry, go for it. No, no, no,
you
go
know
for it, go for it.
who I did see at BrandRisk. I didn't see him. I don't know if he was a coach, but Gable Stevenson was
Oh,
at BrandRisk's promotions the other day. I would love to see him get in the octagon. Bro,
mm,
I've seen him train with John Jones and Gordon Ryan. If you know who Gordon Ryan is,
yes,
like
yes,
one of
yes,
the goats of jujitsu, like
yeah. Hmm.
he would be a freaking beast, I think, in the heavyweight division.
Yeah. What Gable Stevenson, I believe at one point because he was in WWE and then he went to the Bills. Like he had like
Yeah,
a something like that with the Bills. Yeah, I'm curious on why like he hasn't gone through the like UFC route because I feel like he'd kill it.
he's a
I don't
freak
know.
athlete. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Guys, yeah, he's crazy, man. That's cool to yeah. It's crazy to see, him at like a other brand race event. It's
Yeah,
interesting. But just a couple things before, I kind of want to shift to, fan questions,
yeah.
which we'll get to in a sec, right? With these, celebrities that we were just talking about earlier, right? Pulling up to Aiden Ross's boxing event, does it make it more confident on like you achieving your dream fight, being on a platform like Brand Risk?
I think, for me, I don't really have a dream fight. I know there's
Mm-hmm.
a gentleman over in the UK. His name's Ike Man, I think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the whole dream for me is to pass on a legacy or give something to the world where kids, when I was a kid, could look up to and know that they have an opportunity after high school that they
Yeah.
can continue to showcase their athleticism. That's my ultimate dream. Dream fight wise, I think being part of Aiden Ross's Brand Risk Promotions definitely gets my name, definitely gets what I am capable out there. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
thankful for that. So I have no idea where this can lead. I'm just on the ride and I'm having
Yeah.
a hell of a time for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for every opportunity, every phone call they call me. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? They're like, you ready to play? I'm like, just put an
Yeah.
opponent in front of me, man. I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the it I'm just very grateful for the time that I currently have because when I lifted and this can kind of go off track. When I
Oh
was
no, you're good.
lifting, like when I set all those world records, once I set the world record, I was at a high, right? And then after you break the world record, you're like, all right, that's done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, all right, what's next? And you keep going up, keep going up. Whereas in like, I want to leave a legacy for people of short stature, of dwarfism, or what have you, people who want to fight, who want to showcase their athleticism and have a platform where they can be like, this is what I'm training for, rather than I got to go find a job or I got to go do this, rather, you know what I'm saying? Like a
Yeah.
goal to shoot for.
Yeah. 100%. No, and that's a really dope like goal you have for sure.
Like,
With I'll like in a way like because like I'm like diagnosed with autism and
okay.
like my thing is like I would love to in some sort of way whether it's be through this or other avenues just kind of give back to like people who have autism as well
Yeah.
because that also like I understand it, you know what I mean? Same as with like you and like we talk about you and dwarfism and everything like that. What I just wanted just one last thing before the fan stuff, right? Um, I know you said you didn't have a dream fight, but I kind of do want to ask about the roadmap though for
Okay.
2025 because you've been back to back events, right? It seems like you want to be very active, especially this year. So what does it look like for rest of 2025?
So talk to Jordan the
Yeah.
other day.
Mm-hmm.
May 19th is
Mm-hmm.
possibly the next bout if they are able to
Mm-hmm.
find me an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And if this is going to become a monthly thing,
Yeah.
I hope I can fight every single month. I would love to quit my. I don't want to quit it, but like
Yeah.
my real job. I say real job because like I love
Yeah.
fighting, and this is just a passion of mine right now. And if
Yeah.
I was able to make enough to quit my real job, I work in construction, and like
Okay.
shit's tough. Not gonna lie, like shit's tough. I gotta wake up 3:30 in the morning, go in and work till 4:30 in the morning. It's or 4:30 in the afternoon. Like shit's tough, but
Hmm.
it's it's something like I said about the passion. If I was able to, you know, make a living off this, I would fight every single month, no matter what,
Hmm.
well, no matter who they put in front of me. I will fight. That's one thing about me.
100%. And I feel like with the opponents that could definitely be offered, I feel like shoot, a lot of people love seeing you in the ring, and so like whenever, and I know I'll get to it within like the next segment of things,
Hmm.
right? Like I got a lot of people like really responding and like really happy to ask you questions whenever I asked, which actually we'll go to it right now, honestly. So on Twitter, right? There's the brand risk community. Shout
Hmm.
out to them because I'm thankfully I was a moderator. About a
Hell yeah.
so I said that I mentioned that I was able to get an interview with you, and yeah we got a few questions we'll get through, and then yeah we could wrap it up right here.
Hell yeah.
Um, one of the questions, right? Someone wanted to ask. A lot of it has to do with fights, like would you fight this guy, that guy? So I'll say
Mhm.
one. You mentioned a bit earlier. I think it's Eichelman. Eichmann?
Aquaman. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned him just a bit earlier. Is that, do you think, have you been in talks with, Jordan to see if that is a realistic option, or did he, vice versa, did Jordan talk about you versus him? Yeah, what do you think about that?
I haven't talked to Jordan about him per se. I have
Hmm.
talked to other promotions.
Yeah.
I want to say promotions. I forget the dude's name. He reached out to me on Instagram and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, would you fight Eichmann?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I would definitely fight him." However,
Hmm.
I don't know if this is the case, so don't fact check me. Like you can fact check me
Yeah.
on this, but this is not coming from my mouth. Is like he can't leave the UK based on whatever happened in his previous life on charges or whatever. So
Mm.
I would definitely look forward to that fight because one, I don't think I don't know, but if it doesn't happen here in the United States, it means I get to travel, and that's one of my
Hmm.
goals along with this is to be able to travel and
Yeah.
showcase what my talents are, not only within the United States but also globally. So wherever that fight does take place, I'm super excited. He's a hell of an athlete. I've seen a couple clips of his before. Hell of an athlete, and I would definitely
Hmm.
like to get in the ring with him one day.
Heck yeah. Now, couple more. These are just, they're asking about like, oh, would you fight this person, that person,
Yeah,
right?
hell
So,
yeah.
all right, next one. Loco Johnny '07 asked, would you fight Cheezer? If you're familiar with him.
So again, I'm horrible with names. Who's
You're
cheating?
good. He's like one of Aiden's friends. I'll show you
Okay.
a picture.
If
You
he's
saw
at
him.
the right weight, if he's at the right weight, I'll do it.
He's pretty skinny.
All right,
I'm not
bet.
sure what his weight is, but he is skinny, so
Okay.
I think if something could happen, I mean, yeah,
Hey,
if the weight's right,
weight's right. I'll be
there you
there.
go. Perfect, perfect. Do you think, with you, fighting on like these big platforms, have you ever considered maybe opening like maybe a league just for, dwarfs fighting per se? Just because, you say you want to kind of give back and like that type of thing. Is that something
Mhm.
that, like, is very possible if like everything goes right per se?
I hopefully I'm going to speak it into existence. I
Yeah.
hope that is the goal, the end goal, or and I know
Hmm.
that's going to be the end goal.
Hmm.
Maybe just not a league, but like
Yeah.
a classification. You
Mm,
know,
okay. Hmm.
it like have it part of the UFC, have it part of bare knuckle. I talked to Jordan about it too. I'm like, Jordan, like let's have bare knuckle dwarf boxing. Let's have like
Mm,
everything that can encompass what mixed martial arts is, just shorten it down. Like make it a short stature division or whatever. Um,
yeah.
I think that is definitely the end goal. I would love to see it. I would love to, you know, I think that's when I'll retire, because everybody talks about when you're gonna be done, when you're gonna be done. When I could sit back and I could see other kids get ready for a fight and they're excited and they feel the same joy of getting ready for a fight just like me or you would.
Hmm.
I think that's when I'm gonna call it quits. But until I get to that point, I'm
Yeah.
gonna show up every single time.
For sure, man. And you know what, Jeremy, seriously, thank you so much for
No
taking out of
problem.
your busy day to really do this really means a lot. Um, and yeah, where could, people find you, in terms of social media and everything?
So you can find me at jsmith_fitness on Instagram.
Mm.
That's really what I got right now. I gotta I gotta work on my kick, and I
Yeah.
gotta work on my Twitch. I gotta work
Mhm.
on those things. I'm horrible at that stuff. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
I all I do is spend time in the gym and go to work. So I
Mm.
gotta work on my social media presence, and that's
Yeah.
where you can find me is just Instagram right now.
Heck yeah, man. And for everyone, who's still tuned into uh, this video, I just want to say thank you so much. If you guys would like to, please hit the subscribe button and like this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.